Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a Robert Oster ink here. It is Tokyo Blue Denim. This is a very nice ink. From the outset, lovely ink. Good performance, great color. Let's look at it in more detail. This is it on a swatch play card. You can see some sheen there, you can see the shading, and a very lovely, dusty but saturated blue. So let's look at it on a couple of papers and see how we go. Firstly, I should say, this is how it comes bottled. This is the standard Robert Oster signature 50ml environmentally friendly plastic bottle. If you're not familiar with the Robert Oster brand, check them out. It's a huge range of colors, huge range of inks, and greens and blues are amazing. There's some, shake and shimmy inks, there's artist inks and things like that. So check them out. Really great product, made in Australia. So this is it on Tomoe River paper. This is in a Galen Leather Everyday notebook. So it's the 52 GSM Tomoe River. My 5 points about this ink. Oh, firstly, I had it inked in two TWSBI Go pens here, a extra fine and a broad. It gives you a good sense of what the ink looks like. So, good solid blue. It is a true blue ink. There's no purple in this. Maybe a touch of grey in some of the lighter shading, but nice solid blue. Great for professional use because firstly, if you have it in a finer nib, it performs really well and it dries relatively quickly. It's dark enough, yet it gives you a little bit of pop on the page, and it's a pretty sort of stock blue. It's an Australian brand, which for me, big plus. As an Australian myself, I like to support Australian brands. I like to support people who are supportive of the Australian community, and Robert Oster has done that, supportive of charities, supportive of causes and pen shows and all these sorts of things, gets behind retailers, gets behind, as I said, charitable stuff, and also environmentally friendly, and that's something he takes very seriously. So, big plus. Nice performance, as you can see. It looks good on the page. I'll show it on Rhodia in just a second. The other thing I love is that there's a halo sheen. So when I talk about sheen, I consider there to be sort of two main types of sheen. There's halo sheen and there's blanket sheen. Not real terms, but what I sort of use. Halo sheen is where you get it like around the edge of where the ink might pool a little bit. Like if you see here, you see little hits of red around where the ink is pooled. Blanket sheen is where you just get like the entire where you've inked sheening, something like those Organic Studios inks, the nitrogen blue, which just like became red. This has really nice halo sheen, so it pops on the page occasionally, but really doesn't get in the way of the blue coming through. Let's quickly look at it on Rhodia here. This is both the nibs, nice in a broad nib, beautiful rich dark blue, and then good in a fine, extra fine nib. It's dustier in the fine, it's got that sort of little bit of grey coming through. But if we look at the reverse of this, like nothing's coming through, it's safe. Robert Oster inks are safe in terms of their pH level and all of that sort of stuff. So if you're, generally looking for a good, safe ink to use in your pens, Robert Oster does that. They clean relatively well. They're not super saturated, so they, in terms of like the dyes in the ink, so you do actually get a pretty decent, performance from the inks. Let's talk about that performance. Okay, so not super wet. Robert Oster inks tend to run slightly on the drier side, as this does, which is good because it dries quicker and it performs better on some papers. But in saying that, it's got good flow. It's got nice saturation and shading. If we look, once again, we'll come up close here, we can see some lovely shading from the broad nib through the writing, and even in the finer nib there on the P of Professional, get some lovely shading happening there. There's very little feather or bleed, like nothing, like the reverse of this page, where we actually do the writing, nothing has actually come through. You can see through because it's thin paper, but nothing has come through. It has okay water resistance, like if we look at that, there's a little bit sort of left behind. It's not a water resistant ink, but I left the water there for a couple of minutes and, I was able to you'd still be able to read that, I think, particularly from that broad nib. And the dry time is pretty sort of average. As I said, there's a slight dusty sort of grey quality to this ink in colour, which I quite like. Extras, a little halo sheen, so there's no shimmer, nothing like that, but it does have this sort of, nice sort of halo sheen. The price of this ink is 17 to 18 US or 21 to 23 Australian, depending on where you buy and what pricing system they're on. So it's pretty decent value. That's for 50 mils of ink. And it's not like Robert Oster is, you know, a massive producer. It's not a Mont Blanc or a Diamine or anything like that. It's still a pretty boutique, you know, business. It's mainly run by Robert himself. So, you know, doing great things in my opinion. So I think it's pretty good value. Let's look at it in comparison to a couple of other colors and have a quick look at this chromatography here. So tying in with that water resistance, there's a lighter, you know, blue-gray sort of left behind, when we get some darker blues sort of flowing through, and then a little hint of green, and then the light blue at the top. I think that's what gives you that dusty quality. Just that sort of lighter colors that sort of sit through there, that just sort of sit there underneath in the shading. The comparisons I put it next to here, any blue I look at in comparison to Waterman Serenity Blue, and I think you can see there that really, like, it's a dustier, slightly darker blue. It's not too dissimilar in some ways to like Robert Oster School Blue. I think it's just a little bit darker, and something like Oxford Blue is much darker, but once again, all these three inks having that lovely sort of halo sheen there. So I've given this ink 4.5 out of 5. It performs well. It doesn't have some of the X factor, but it's not designing to be that. It's also not designing to be a water-resistant ink. If you want a water-resistant ink, get a water-resistant ink. This also is not a washable blue in the same way that, you know, like Lamy Blue, for instance, is. This is a good performing ink, has a little bit of water resistance there if you need it. Lovely shading, as I said, performs well, looks great on the page. So this is Robert Oster Tokyo Blue Denim. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here or drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel, get in touch and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your inks. Check out Robert Oster, check out Tokyo Blue Denim and his whole range of other colors, and I will talk to you soon.